Damn, those bitches be thirsty. This is the Console Crusade podcast. Depending on how EJ edits this together, you'll notice that it is just Chris Gilly4 and myself, Nick Durheim.
Yo.
Kind of a weird week. Our boy's on vacation, so we decided we would just do a two-man and sort of just catch up on games we're playing, check in a little bit on the news. You know, the usual fare. Nothing too wildly out of the ordinary. I mean, we'll get on tangents, as is our norm.
Oh, yeah.
But Chris, how you doing this week? What's up?
I'm not doing too bad. I'm feeling a lot better. I was pretty sick for most of the week, which will undoubtedly be obvious to our listeners when you hear this recording. Yeah, I was coughing so hard Sunday and Monday that my voice just disintegrated. On Tuesday, I had to take the day off, which meant some more concentrated Zelda time, which was nice. I don't know if we want to get into that yet. Nick, how you doing?
You'll need the time. I'm doing pretty well. I had a pretty busy week at work. Ended up having to drive back and forth between Clackamas and our facility in Troutdale a few times, helping out with a live stream video demo between that facility and then our main facility, because there's like a big, not board of directors, but close to, like, sort of some big big shots, big wigs. I don't know. Terms are weird, but yeah, a bunch of like heads of the company were there and they wanted to see demos from a bunch of the facilities around the world. So had some stuff happening in Greenville, some stuff happening in Texas. I don't know if they actually did anything from like China or Ireland or anything like that. I think that would be too difficult as far as the time of day was concerned. But yeah, just getting that set up, like doing a real ass not recording, but I was just, since I had used OBS before doing some live stream stuff, that sort of put me in the position where it's like, yeah, I know how to do this and I know I can do it. And with the equipment we have, I can get us a product, quote unquote, that is above and beyond the quality that anybody else around the company can do. So that put me in the position to facilitate that. And that was nice because it's just another way that I can say, hey, promote me more.
Yeah, dude.
You know,
doing
that kind of thing.
Filling a big need with a bunch of mucky mucks there. Like, that's some great FaceTime right there.
Yeah. So that was cool. And unfortunately, it didn't go without a hitch because Microsoft Teams, pain in my ass. Yeah. So the way it worked out was because we were doing a Teams call for this thing. I had, OBS. I had a virtual camera started. Everything was good. Everything was golden. I was ready to go. And I was just sitting there waiting. And because of how everything turned out, we were the last thing of the day. And everything kept getting pushed back. So we were initially starting at like 11:50. It was like, this is our go time, is around like right before noon, right before lunch.
Mm-hmm.
And I kept getting texts from my supervisor saying, hey, push back. We're finishing up this thing. So that's like another 20 minutes. We're finishing up this thing. That's another 15 minutes. And we didn't end up going until 2:30.
Ooh.
And yeah, so I'm just like sitting ready for 3 hours and didn't end up going until 2:30. And then when it is our time to go, they give us like the little cue, I guess you could say, like, here we are from Clackamas, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh shit, I thought there was someone else before us because that's the way we ran it down the day before for our like dress rehearsal kind of dry run.
Ooh.
So I was like, okay, so we're going now. So I tried to like hop in the call, like turn my video on, and it wouldn't turn on. Like I selected the virtual webcam and like nothing showed up. I'm just like, oh my fucking God, the CEO is watching this and he's getting impatient. He's been sitting here for 3 hours. He's probably pissed. I'm just like trying not to like kill myself, but ended up like leaving the call, jumping back in. It worked out fine. But yeah, that was just like, I did not need this to start off the thing that I was like so confident would be going without a hitch. But that's all over. I can breathe a little bit easier and then also use this as leverage to maybe purchase more video equipment and like get some really bitchin' shit. That'd be tight.
Yeah, that will be tight. Man, it's never going to go without a hitch.
No, I knew that. Like,
as far as hitches go,
it's fine.
That's a relatively minor one of like, okay, we'll get this fixed. Like we'll figure it out. And then, okay, we're going.
And the people before us, they were doing one camera, multiple mics scenario. So every one of them were in the call on their cell phone, and they would mute themselves when they weren't talking and like unmute when they were. So the audio quality was a lot worse, and it was like a thing of them like awkwardly passing it along to the next person, and they didn't have as much public speaking sort of background. So like it was a little bit hinkier. So I was happy with the way ours turned out production level wise. It was just so annoying to like have that one thing at the beginning that is not something that you can like hide. Like everyone knows that happened. So I was like, I just wanted it to be over quickly. So anyway, that stressed me the fuck out, and then it's over. So I can move on with my life and maybe not have nightmares, but definitely had some sleepless nights leading up to that at least.
Oh, sure. Well, if your company's ever going to hire a consultant to improve that public speaking, you know where to find one.
Well, yeah, they might want to not have you be remote, so that can be another excuse for you to get back to Portland.
Yep, fly, or if it's in the short term, just fly me in.
Sure.
But in all seriousness, that's great. I want to shout out my students this week a little bit. So I'm up in Anchorage again, which I maybe have talked about on this podcast. Is like I teach 3rd through 8th grade students creative arts in the summer. They're mostly private school kids, so they're like really intelligent, very like can think for themselves, form opinions. Like they're great kids. And so I was like, all right, it was like knights, catapults, castles was the theme for the week. And so I was like, I want to make swords with them and then teach them stage combat. I was like, that's the week that I want to do, is teaching like 3rd graders how to sword fight, basically. And my boss is like down to let me do basically anything I want. And so she's like, great. And later, some of the assistants and instructors like privately expressed that they had some like skepticism going into the week of like, you want to do what? But they were amazing. We're so like receptive to like, okay, here's a whole bunch of new like safety things you need to know and understand and do. I gave them a 2-strike system that they were going to lose their sword if I had to talk to them twice about not behaving safely. I only had to take 1 sword in 4 days. And it was like the first day that I was actually teaching them like attack and defense positions. And by Friday, they were learning like 7 move combinations. They were amazing. Like it was an awesome week. And it's rare that like sometimes a lot of people that are like, oh, creative arts is like my favorite thing that we do during the week. And I'm like, oh, that's great. But I don't have anybody ever specifically coming up and being like, I'm so glad that we did this. Like, thank you for doing this. And I had like 5-6 kids that were like, thank you for teaching us how to sword fight. I'm like, yeah, totally. And they know these things now. And I'm like, you can go and like teach your siblings and like stage your own fights and just like defend on like who's defending which position and who's attacking which position. And it was just like really cool. I was like, man, and a bunch of the, like my boss and some of the like heads of school, for the private school that we're based in were like coming through and looking around like, it's so calm in here. Cause they were all like so focused on like, we want to do this. And so like, we're going to do it right. And we're going to listen and we're going to make sure that we understand, and came in and like got some great pictures that I'll share with you, Nick, of like me teaching them different stuff and some video, which is really cool. So I was like, man, I love these kids. Definitely have kept me coming back to this job. Besides like being in Alaska, but I could just like work at a fish cannery if I wanted to just be in Alaska for the summer. But this particular job is great. So it was like a super cool thing, and definitely kept me coming into work, even though I was just so incredibly sick with this cold. And it was not COVID, thankfully. I tested on Friday when I really started feeling crappy last Friday. And then I tested again on Monday when I decided to call it work on Tuesday. Just a really lingering like head and chest cold. And when you're in your 30s, that's like a week of your life at least of just like feeling 50%, but having to just exist with it, and swilling Theraflu and making a hot toddy with nighttime cold medicine before you go to sleep. Theraflu's great, by the way.
For a nice little honk shoe.
Oh, yeah. Let me just honk shoe. That's great. Let me stump for Theraflu if for our listeners who don't know about this. Theraflu, sponsor the Console Crusade podcast, please. It's great. It's literally the same stuff that's in NyQuil or DayQuil, but it comes in a powdered form. And you make it into like a hot tea. So you get like the hot vapors, you get the nice feeling of hot liquid in the back of your throat. And it's just wonderful. Works the same as Dayquil, NyQuil. And yeah, it makes, it usually is like lemon flavored or lemon raspberry. So it makes a mean hot toddy with a little bit of honey, some hot water, and a floater of bourbon. Definitely gets some good, what did you say? Honk shoe sleep.
Yeah, dude. Your little Ebenezer Scrooge outfit.
Yeah, the freaking like
the long hat.
Ball of the hat coming towards the mouth and then.
Exactly. Well, man, that sounds really fun and like really cool to see everyone sort of rise to the occasion and be responsible little children, except for that one little fucker who got their sword taken away. But they were an example. It was tough, but fair.
Yeah.
Had to be done. I respect it. Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah. Kids love physical activity and a chance to quote unquote goof around in the setting of school. So that's that's the ideal. I mean, it brings me back to thinking about like gym class and the days that we would have where we would in elementary school have like those little wheelie carts and just being on your knees and just scooting around like a dumbass. Like that was just so much fun because it was so less organized than a normal we're gonna play basketball today and this is how you dribble and all that kind of thing. So that definitely sticks out. That's really cool. Now, I won't delay you any further, and I know you want to talk about Tears of the Kingdom, and you were telling me before we started recording that since you've got, 2.5 weeks left up in Alaska, you want to finish this game. What have you done? What do you have left to do?
All right. 2 weeks and a day, basically. In fact, 2 weeks and 12 hours, I will be on a plane back to Nashville. Yeah, I want to be done with this, which for me means all side quests, which then therefore cascades down into a whole bunch of different things, like every single cave and bubble frog, every well, all of the different stable quests and all the different photo quests for the stables, all of the world bosses, so every Talus, Phrox, Hinox, blah, 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 every Korok seed. Yes, every Korok seed, every single one. All the shrines and light roots.
I'm flabbergasted at you fighting all the world bosses. After 5, I had to hunt down a bunch of Hinoxes to get guts because they just weren't dropping. I was trying to upgrade one of my gear armors and it just wasn't dropping. And after fighting 6 of them, I was man, this is so brain dead easy, but also irritating because I have to look on a map where they are because I don't know where they are. I just want to fight these things.
Sure.
So you doing that is appalling to me. Even the Koroks are less appalling than that.
It's interesting because I totally, that makes perfect sense to me thinking about the way that you moved through the game and the way that I would expect most people move through this game. But for me, because I am getting every Korok, because I am looking for every single cave and every single well, when I'm scooting around on an air bike from Korok seed location to Korok seed location, and I'll just say that I searched for them on my own the first 3 or 4 regions that I did. And then I just started stamping all of their locations every time I'd pop a tower. Cause I'm going region by region, open a tower, sweep it, go to the depths, sweep it, go to the sky, sweep it. And then check and see what I missed. I started stamping Korok seed locations after that, which gave me a guide map of the big areas to explore as I'm picking them up. And then I'd look back at my hero's path and go, okay, so here's some big areas that I'm not going to hit by looking at these seeds. So now I need to go over here and make sure I comb that. My sensor's been set to bubble frog for forever, sensor plus, so that I could know I'm in the area of a cave. Anyway, finding a world boss, even if it's a stone talus, and I've killed so many fucking stone taluses, in this game, it breaks up the monotony. Not monotony is the wrong word for it because I really enjoy it, but it breaks up the rhythm of going from seed to seed when it's ooh, world boss. Oh, cave. Ooh, well. Things that I can do. Oh, monster encampment, and I can liberate the Hebra region or whatever with the little Hyrule Defense Force side quests. It gives such a little color to those moments. Finding world bosses is a lot easier in the depths, as an aside, because the taluses are always fully upright. They're never in stone form. And they're coated in gloom, and so you can see them pretty easily, even from an air bike. If you still need Hinox guts, although I know you've moved on, so you're probably like long past that. You're done. So what have I done? I have done all but 4 regions completely swept and checked for anything missed. That's everything except for Gerudo Desert, the North Desert, which I don't know what the actual name of that region's called. Death Mountain, which I'm about to do, and the Hyrule Forest region. Those are the only 4 I haven't done yet.
When you say the North Desert, you mean like the Gerudo Highlands?
Yes, that's it. Thank you.
Like the cliffs?
Yeah. Yes. I'm getting Death Mountain out of the way now. I've done the Wind Temple and the Water Temple. I have not done any of the Master Koga quests beyond the first one. And we were talking about before we jumped into recording, Nick, that I might break sequence a little bit here, which I've done before to get the Dragon's Tears, which I have all of those. I have the Master Sword. To go and just like knock out the Koga quest. Because the first one after you find him the first time is in the Southwest, which is exactly where like it's gonna be my last region is the Southwest, and I don't want to wait that long. Right. Because I know that it's gating some caves and depths areas that I would love to clear.
It gates a little bit of cave areas. I don't think it gates any, or not cave. It gates some depths areas, but I don't know if it gates caves specifically because those are all on the surface. I'm not sure. Like I said, I don't know exactly, but he doesn't go fully southwest after that initial fight below the plateau. He kind of goes to that first. You remember in Breath of the Wild, the oasis sort of bizarre town,
sure,
before you get to Gerudo Village. Like it's thereabouts.
Okay,
so it's not fully southwest. It goes there and he hops around. He's like going all over the map after that. And each time you fight him, he's like, "Oh, I'll be where we found some more resources over in blah 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 region." You're like, "I know exactly where that is because I've played this game before." So you can just go follow him and hunt him down pretty quickly.
That's good. Yeah, I'm like, okay, in the Thunder Plains, which is like my least favorite fucking part of both of these games, because I never have the rubber suit in time, and so it's just constantly unequipping shit and re-equipping shit and whatever.
Well, the nice thing about doing Gerudo earlier is getting that Thunder Helm.
I know. Well, I have the rubber armor now, and it's all leveled up to 2 stars, so I am lightning proof if I want to be lightning proof. There is a cave underneath that platform with the Zonai statues that I know I can't get to until I've done a part of the Master Koga quest.
Interesting. Yeah, I didn't really spend too much time over in the Thunder Plains in this game just because nothing drew me there, I guess.
Sure. And there's a couple of those. Like there's one there. The Ancient Colosseum has a similar stone slab that's covering what I assume will get me down into a cave that I know my sensor tells me is a bubble frog. There's one in the Ancient Columns that I can't get to. There's a couple of them, and I think they're all related to that. If not, it's just a quest line that I haven't received to pop it yet.
Right.
I have found the Spirit Temple, which was a really cool moment of just like running around in Farron and going like, "Oh, what is this?" And then getting a big pan over with the title card. And I was like, "Oh, that's awesome." And like going in, and I don't have whatever item you need to get the quest to actually start. But I was like, man, that's so tight to just like find that. I also have found in the same area the Construct Factory, which I assume is going to be connected to something with the Spirit Temple, because I've like run around and looked at like, okay, there's all these depots. I need to go to these arm parts, but like none of the little computer things are scanning to let me get the parts to bring them over. So I'm assuming that the head is going to come from something related to this, so that it will like let me start to get stuff. I don't know, but I know it's there, and I'm excited for that. It looks really cool, of these like little factory puzzle areas of having to figure out how I'm going to transport the thing from A to B without it getting destroyed. So I'm really looking forward to doing that when I get a chance. But I'm close. I'm really close. And I do think I can get this done in 2 weeks, especially because the rotation's gone until I'm done with Zelda. It's over.
The rotation is Zelda.
Yeah. Spyro is on ice. And the only thing that I'm going to do is like an hour, and I mean a hard hour, of Mega Man X on either Saturday or Sunday. because now that I'm into X7, I have no desire to like spend a whole day beating one of these games. And so Mega Man X6 will do that to you. So anyway, that's where I'm at. I have like 100 and like a little bit over 100 shrines. I've got like, I don't know, 60 something light roots or 70 something light roots. I've got 756 Korok seeds. And I think I'm only missing like 7 wells at this point. I haven't seen Colton in a minute, so I'm not sure where I'm at with Bubble Frogs, but I know I haven't missed any because I go and check. I cross-reference a map after I'm done sweeping. So I'm close. I'm really close. And without playing anything else, like I do think I can have this done in 2 weeks. Because once I get back, man, it's PlayStation time. It's Final Fantasy time. I'm picking up a copy of 16 today that I found on Facebook Marketplace for $50, $20 off. Let's go. We know I love a bargain. And I have to, that just is one of my favorite franchises. I have to start that as soon as I get back.
Well, I mean, just based on your numbers for Koroks and Shrines, that's like 2/3, 3/4 of the way through this game. So
yeah,
you've put how many hours into this? Like 150, 160?
I'm probably around like 180 or 185. I'm going to get through this way faster than I got through Breath of the Wild.
Oh, for sure.
Because I'm not looking for Korok seeds manually anymore.
Yeah. And you're zooming around at the speed of sound on a goddamn wind bike.
Yeah. Air bike life. I bought in my house outside of Terrytown a gallery room and put up a picture of my air bike so that I could see it every time I come home to stash one of the legacy weapons. Oh man, did you do the goddess statue, the spring quest?
Yes.
Man, that was awesome. And I love that restoring the mother goddess statue with everybody's always speculated like, oh, the Forgotten Temple is the temple from the starting island in Skyward Sword. And like, it looks just like it. And then for that to yield like the legacy weapon of like the White Sword of the Sky from Skyward Sword. Well, it's kind of invented, but it's intended to be like from Skyward Sword. I was like, man, that's awesome. Like that made me smile so huge to finish that quest.
For a game you do not like.
Yeah, I know, but I played it so that I could know these references. You know what I mean? So it was worth it.
I understand.
It was worth it. I don't not like it. I just don't love it.
I mean, that's fair. I mean, I'm with you there where I don't like it as much as a lot of the other Zelda games, but I probably like it more than you do. Yeah, by the end of the game, I feel like I had a bunch of weapons just like hanging out in my inventory that I knew I would never use because they were those like legacy kind of weapons. Like I had the boomerang from Wind Waker and
yeah.
I think I had like the Twilight Princess sword as well. I can't remember exactly.
I haven't got that yet.
There was a bunch of different weapons. I had the Ganondorf like Sword of Sages.
Whoa, that's tight.
Which had like really good power, and I think I ended up like fusing it with something just because it's like a two-handed weapon, like a claymore. So I just had. I'm a spin to win boy, you know, like give me an opportunity, give me 30 seconds against the boss where they're weak, and I will just spin away, get that health bar chopped down. But yeah, I'm skeptical that you can finish this game in 2 weeks without skipping a bunch of shit that you're gonna feel bad about skipping. So you're not going to, and then you're gonna get back into Kentucky and you're gonna be staring down the barrel of a PS5 with a Final Fantasy 16, and you're gonna have to make some hard choices.
No, I'm gonna do it. It's gonna happen. I'm getting it done. It's gonna happen.
Some sleepless nights are in your future. Tell me about Mega Man X6.
Oh my god, if I must, this game is such a piece of shit. And when we talked about Mega Man X5, I was like, this game is better than I remember it. It has a lot of really good things going for it. It's got a good soundtrack. It's got interesting bosses. I like a lot of the level design. I think the story, quote unquote, it's thin. It's a Mega Man game, right? But is like for an X game, the most robust that they've done. And satisfyingly wraps a lot of the threads that they've been kind of pulling at for 5 games. Then the series producer left, and X5 was intended to be the end of the X series, and they were like, but we like money, so we're going to produce a 6th game. And it is the worst Mega Man X game, like by a damn sight. It is worse than Mega Man X3, which I did not think would be possible to say. Just right from the jump, the graphical quality takes a fucking nosedive. This game looks awful. the bosses are muddy and non-specific and washed out in their color palettes. Even the like little warning logo that pops up that they started doing in X4 like is noticeably shittier looking in this game than it was in X5 even, and certainly in X4. The soundtrack is so generic, crappy, and forgettable. The localization is laughably terrible, like absolutely hysterically bad. Like sometimes where like
notice some typos where it's like is something is like some like things that would have been caught in Microsoft Word just slipping through the cracks.
Oh yeah, and like verb tense agreement where I don't know if we're talking about things that are happening now or things that happened in the past a lot of the time because it's so horribly translated. And so I'm like, I have no idea what I'm supposed to be getting from this game. They bring Zero back with like literally a hand wave if you fight an optional boss. And then Zero just literally shows up and X is like, oh my God, I thought you were dead. And Zero's like, well, it makes sense you would think that. I've been repairing myself secretly. And X is like, oh, I searched for you. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, this doesn't make any sense. He literally just appears. He literally just shows up. It doesn't make any fucking sense. And some of the bosses are just so stupid. Like High Max is hard in the worst way. Like, not that he's like difficult because of pattern memorization or anything like that, but just that you do no fucking damage to him like whatsoever. And the only way to even get to be able to do damage to him is by stunning him with your base weapon and then hitting him with a special weapon. But it never really explains that. And so I have no idea how like Kid Me beat this game. It had to have been by like just good luck in trial and error.
Infinite time glitch of being a child.
Exactly. And then the gate fight where like you literally can't hurt him at all. The only way to do damage to him is to like blow up the little power orbs he shoots at you and hope that when they blow up, he's close enough to them that it hits him and does damage. And it's just like the RNG for the boss behavior is just shitty. Like High Max would do a move in his fight where he literally just like puts up a shield that you can break with the Z-Saber, but if you break it 3 times, he will go into an attack pattern where he literally just like fills the stage with energy balls, and you can hurt him with anything, but like he's going to obliterate you because the screen is literally just like full of attacks at all times until you kill him or you die. But he'll put up the shield and then he'll drop down and sweep across the bottom and you have to do like a jump dash and go over his head. I literally had him do that move like 15 times in a row, literally 15 times. I was counting. And Gate in his fight, he'll try and come towards you. And so you have to like find a good, and it's like 6 floating platforms, like the only thing you get in that boss arena. And so you have to kind of find like, where can I sit where I could just like jump over the top of him? Same thing. He'd just go back and forth like 15, 16 times and would never attack. So I was just literally like dodging him, not being able to do any damage. I'm like, this is dumb. This is bad. This is like shitty game programming. It's frustrating. It's not fun. I beat this game and I'm like, I will never, ever, ever play this game again. Ever. Like the next time, God help me, in my 40s, when I want to do a Mega Man X series run, I'm watching a video of Mega Man X3 and I'm watching a video of Mega Man X6. I'm not fucking playing these games again. They're awful. Awful, 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 bad, shitty, terrible.
Well, I'll be interested to get your ranking, because you still are going to go through and play X7 and X8 on this run.
I started X7.
Just not spending it a whole day, just like play it on easy or something, approaching easy just to get through, just to see it, just to feel those feelings again.
I've never played 7 and 8, so this is new for me.
Okay, so you're probably going to get the raw feel. Okay, well, so just through a cursory little bit of quote-unquote research, I wanted to see what the general consensus is on the X series and where people rank them. And pretty unanimously, number 6 is X3, number 7 is X6, and number 8 is X7. So X7 is widely regarded to be the worst out of the entire series.
It's been bad so far.
But then X8 ranks pretty high in a lot of these rankings, like 3 and 4 around that area.
Wow, that's exciting. Gonna end on a high note.
Usually
then.
Back and forth between like X2, X4. Like a lot of people have high feelings on X2 still. I know you were a little bit lower on it than maybe some.
No,
some
I
other
liked
people
it.
would be,
I
but
liked X2 a lot. Yeah, I will for sure do a ranking. X6 will be the bottom. There is no way that anything is going to be shittier than that. Maybe 7 is going to be like, hold my beer, but it's a new
I
experience.
think X7 is notorious for hold my beer moments.
Well, it has really fucking long cutscenes, and it's fully voice acted in the cutscenes, and it's really bad PlayStation 2 era voice acting, like awful voice acting, and you cannot skip or fast forward any of it.
In X7, I'm going to read a little excerpt. In X7, you should think of the traditional 9 stages as the 9 circles of hell, the camera being Satan himself. So that's something you can look forward to.
Oh my God. All right. Well, I'll do my hour today when we get off the horn, and then next week I'll have some things to report back on.
Right. Do your penance. For what it's worth, I hopped into X6 just to sort of get a feel for it. I had never played it before either. I too have the Legacy Collection. So just from playing through 2 stages, I see little to no difference between X5 and X6 as far as the creativity of the level design, the asinine placement of enemies, and the opportunity windows in which you have to destroy them before you have to guide a laser through a level, or just running around on Commander Yamark's stage. Those are the 2 I did. It was Shield Sheldon and Commander Yamark. And it's like, yeah, this is fine. This is Mega Man X shaped, but not really reaching the highs of 1, 2, and 4. So yeah, I don't really have a lot of input as far as like this being a wild detriment, like a step down from X5. I thought the music in those 2 stages were pretty good. I really liked Yamark's stage music in particular.
Yamark, I was going to say that is the best track on the album. It's a big earworm. The last week I've just been running around like do 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 do.
Yeah, it's just got like a nice little like jazz vibe to it, which I really respect, that element of the Mega Man X games, especially the blues, the jazz, the rock and roll sort of vibes, the metal, the Sigma boss fight being just a goddamn what is that, a blues standard, but just being played on 16th notes. Like, it's just like, yeah, this is exactly what you need to fight this bald weirdo. So I do want to actually go through and listen to the X6 soundtrack isolated, because I love listening to soundtracks by themselves, and I think X6 probably has some bangers in there.
It might. You'll have to let me know which ones that you're like, oh, this one's good, and then maybe I'll remember back and go, oh yeah, that was pretty decent.
Yeah, just because when you're focused on doing the shit that you're doing, the music maybe doesn't stick with you quite as well. Like X5, I thought had some good songs too. Like
X5's great.
The Tidal Whale had a good song, and yeah, I mean, that's the first thing I'm listening for is the music. And then when I'm playing the game itself, it's like, okay, how asinine is this level layout? But besides Mega Man X, I also jumped into a little throwback indie platformer by the name of A Hat in Time. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it.
I don't know that I am.
Came out a few years ago. I want to say it was like 2018 or so. It was like early Switch era. It was one of those ones that's like, hey, here's this cute indie game. And then the response was, yeah, that's great and all, but when's it coming to Switch? You know, back in that era where it was a little bit less of a first priority platform. But got the physical version, which came with the DLC, which is like extra levels, some side content, which I haven't really touched on yet. But this is a really charming game. It's sort of like a mashup between the 64 era of 3D platformers and sort of going into the GameCube era. Like I told you that controlling this game feels a lot like Mario Sunshine.
Oh,
the way you get around is primarily through jumps and dives, and that just really like just the actual momentum and the physicality and the physics of the jump and the dive feels a lot like Mario Sunshine. The camera control is poor, I would say. That's one thing that I know that if you played this game, you would immediately be like, why did they do this? Why did they make this choice? That's a question I have too. I wonder, why did they make this choice? Instead of having a normal like right stick camera, it's much more akin to Mario 64, where instead of doing chunked left and right, it's not chunked. Like that's still smooth pan, but the forward and back, like the up and down on the right stick, is moving the camera swooping in closer and swooping out further. So it's like your camera's on a hinge, instead of it being like, tilting up and down from your character's perspective, which I guess makes a little bit of sense because of it being a platformer. You're more concerned about not looking at things, but knowing where you are in relation to the platforms around you. And I think it does a really good job. I think the level layouts are actually really creative. I love the creativity in the way they put you in one spot, and it's a jungle gym. Like that's what a 3D platformer should be. It should be like a playground jungle gym. Show your creativity just by interacting with the world. And they do that in a lot of ways by putting your objectives in locations that are interesting to get to and are easily viewable. And majority of the time, very creative from a stylistic choice as well. So your first area that you start out in, it's very similar to like Delfino Plaza from Mario Sunshine. It's like a coastal town. It's got this nice, warm, sunny vibe. And it's this town that's been taken over by the mafia. Like it's called Mafia Town. And it's like these big bulking dudes. I don't know if you've ever seen a movie called Triplets of Belleville, but it reminds me of like the mafia and Triplets of Belleville. Just dudes that just big shoulders, mustaches. Everything's voice acted, which is really strange. That's like an anachronism with the rest of the vibe. Like everything else sort of feels like an N64 game, but then you hear these people that are talking in full sentences. Just strange. And eventually you can unlock a badge that turns everything to mumbles. Sort of like a Rare style from the 90s.
Yeah, I was going to say, we need like like that's what we need for that.
A lot of games do that, and a lot of people hate that, but I respect it still. Just give me the option, which they do eventually do. But just sort of like, yeah, the vibes are good. The music, I think there might be some great Kirkhope jams in here. It's got that feeling at least. Everything else sort of has that Newgrounds kind of remix vibe, or like the OC remix kind of vibe. So I feel like they probably did tap a bunch of those creators' shoulders and say, hey, can we get some music from you? We like the aesthetic that you have. This is like the thing that we're going for. But yeah, you go from that opening town to the next level is you go to a Hollywood sort of stand-in set where it's a Hollywood backlot. And you're in the studio and there are these two birds that are vying for the annual award of like best picture, and it's a owl who is shooting. He's a conductor. He loves trains, so all of his movies are train themed. So you shoot a movie with the conductor on a train, and the other one is a penguin who's like an Elvis, and he's doing like these big bombastic dance numbers in his movie. So you have these two birds that are competing with each other, and depending on who you perform better for, they become the winner of the award. And there's like a seedy underbelly where they're like trying to like go back in time and get the award that they missed out on because they feel like they were snubbed. So like that's really creative and interesting and funny. Yeah. So like one of the stages is Murder on the Owl Express, and there's all these crows that are like basically bots that are trying to like fish you out of your information. Like they ask you for your pet's name and like the name of your aunt's stepbrother's name, and then they call you with like a distorted voice and they ask you about these characters. Like, yeah, we've kidnapped your pet's pet. His name is this. Like, it's really funny, really creative, very interesting. Would recommend. I think if you can get past the camera control, I think you would really enjoy the mechanics of playing the game. I feel like it's on sale pretty often. Call it A Hat in Time.
I'll take a look.
Very lovely game.
Yeah, that does sound like weird and quirky and something that I have a good ass time with for like 10 or 12 hours.
Yeah, I want to say, let me check how long to beat. I want to say I'm about like 12 hours in. I've primarily been playing it this weekend. I think I started it on Friday, maybe Thursday. Yeah, so maybe I'm not 12 hours in. But I have been pretty thorough. Like I'm trying to get all the extra timepieces. Those are like the main stars or jickeys of the game. Another kind of a bummer thing is when you get the timepiece, it kicks you out of the level and you got to load back in. The load times are pretty atrocious on Switch. If you can get it on PlayStation, I might recommend that.
Oh,
instead.
Man. So they are very Mario 64 pilled between the camera and the stage ejections.
Some of it is justified. Like some of it, they have distinct sort of, this is a one-time use of this map and this layout. Like one time Mafia Town fills with lava. So all the ground is lava. So you can't do that for a normal, timepiece. So that makes sense at least then. But other times it feels like this was not necessary. I could have just kept playing. Like, I I don't know. This probably just has to do with programming the triggers and getting everything available in one place. I mean, that makes sense to an extent. I'm fine with it, but it's still a bit of a bummer.
I see the logic. I just do not like or respect that game design choice. Because I'm just like, my time's valuable. Like, I want to run around and get stuff, and like bopping me out every single time just drives me crazy.
And it's more noticeable on the Switch where the load times are pretty bad.
Mm-hmm.
But that's been pretty much what I've been playing. I'm still, like I talked about the other day, on like a Zelda hangover as far as like having a big game to really chunk a lot of time into. So it's nice to have this game and sort of feel like I'm looking at the ending of it coming up pretty soon. Like I could probably finish it today if I wanted to. And then after that, I don't know. I'd have to look at my backlog and sort of figure out what's next on the docket after that.
Oh yeah, good old backlog spreadsheet.
You say that as if it's a joke, but it's real.
I know. I should make one, or at least a list, so I can look at it and go, okay, what am I actually going to beat?
It really does help to be a little bit organized and to visualize it and not just have to compartmentalize inside your own brain. At least that's how it works for me. So this week in news has been a lot. Just as far as the Microsoft FTC court case seemingly coming to an end and having a resolution, and things could drag out a little bit further, but it seems like it's not going to. Like the FTC already said they're going to file an appeal, and the judge already said we will not listen to an appeal. So tough luck. Sony this morning signed their contract with Activision Blizzard with Microsoft to say, hey, next 10 years we'll have Call of Duty. So like they've sort of admitted like, yeah, this is going to go through. They recognize it. And the CMA in the UK is like, I think they have a week to put together something that says, I don't know where exactly the UK is as far as their ruling against it. But I think the last time I saw a headline, it was in regards to Microsoft making, I don't know if the word is like, saying, yeah, we will follow these stipulations that you put forward on us, or we will agree on stipulations that restricts us in some way, or we give up some of our streaming stronghold, because that was their big thing in the UK. It was like, hey, this gives you an unfair advantage in cloud gaming, which is like laughable, but I guess. So they already said like, yeah, we will bend on those rulings, I guess. So it seems like it's going to happen. Microsoft is going to own Activision Blizzard and all of their associated IPs. That's like a big deal.
Yeah, we're gonna have to deep dive the implications of that with EJ, but that just makes me feel like I need to go take a shower.
Well, in the short term, we can be hopeful that this could shake up some of the leadership that has historically been so negative to the workers of Activision Blizzard, and especially with Bobby Kotick being at top and his sordid history of threats and just basically being a overall grade A douchebag. So the sooner he can get the axe, the better. And I hope that is something that happens within the next 6 months.
I doubt it, but I would hope for the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's fair to have doubt, but I think it would be probably the biggest goodwill move that Microsoft could make with Activision, besides announcing like a bunch of remasters and stuff from the back catalog that people have been asking for. Like doing Tony Hawk 3+4 would be as big of a pop as saying, yeah, Bobby Kotick is out.
Probably a bigger one, honestly, because I don't think like the rank and file gamer even knows who that is, which is part of my...
I think they do.
I hope that they do. I don't know. Because he was supposed to be on the outs until the merger was announced, and then that only seemed to entrench him further. So that's where I'm sort of like, I don't know how much I believe that Microsoft is just going to can him, given how like hands off they were with, and this is admittedly a much smaller studio, but with Arcane, with something like Redfall, where they're like, yeah, we don't really care, like just, like do the thing and then release the thing. But maybe they learned from that, and maybe that's a moment where they're like, okay, we do need to have more direct oversight, and that could start with Kotick getting shit canned. But I don't know. I'm skeptical of business in general. And even if they do fire him, it would just be such a naked like move to try to appease people that are sort of like, you are building a publishing monopoly and that's kind of scary. And yeah, I don't know.
There are a lot of things in the current era that whenever a business does something, it is obvious that it is done to appease the woke masses, as it were. But like, yeah, let that happen. Let us have some control over these big wigs that get their golden parachute. Like, yeah, for sure, he's going to stay a millionaire, but he doesn't have to keep being at the top of a company that affects a ton of people's daily lives and their jobs. Like, that's like multiple thousands of people working under Activision Blizzard. The least that Microsoft can do is take out the worst actor among them.
No, I agree. And like I said, it is a move I hope they make. I'm just so deeply skeptical.
Fuck the reasoning or the intent behind it. Like, just do the thing, you know?
Yeah.
I don't care why they do it. Just do it.
That's fair. That's fair. The enemy of my enemy, blah, blah, blah.
But I do think, yeah, we'll have to wait till we get EJ on here and sort of talk about what this could mean, what we hope it means. Like I said, I just hope it means Bobby Kotick is out of the picture. I hope it means old games that have not gotten the shine because Call of Duty is the main moneymaker get another chance in the spotlight. And Microsoft is getting to the point where they have a lot of IP and they have a lot of studios. Like, let's start making matches and let's start building out that pipeline. They've struggled with having enough content to fuel their service. What does that mean for their service going forward? Are they going to be able to put their service on other platforms? Like, they probably want to. They probably want to put Game Pass on PlayStation. PlayStation doesn't want that because it undermines their ability to sell their games for $70. They put it on Switch. Switch probably couldn't handle it.
No.
Streaming all those games, whatever. But I mean, it's a possibility. There's a lot of, the future is full of possibilities.
Yeah, and look at a world
and I just
where
wonder what they are.
They own Call of Duty, which is like consistently the best-selling game of almost every year because of the fact that it's on every platform. Microsoft could now say to Sony, if you want Call of Duty, we can afford not selling Call of Duty on your platform. It's a drop in the bucket.
They already signed away that right. That was what the contract was for Call of Duty.
For 10 years.
Which is a long time. That's longer than
it is a long time.
Any contract ever is.
But they could say if you want to continue to have Call of Duty in 2030 or whatever, Game Pass comes to PlayStation within the next 5 years, or you're going to lose Call of Duty when the contract's up. I mean, they could do that, and Sony would have to go, how much money are we making on that? Do we want to do that? I mean, it's just anyway. Well, deep dive with EJ. We'll crank each other up so fucking hard on this. I'm sure. Yeah. I want to save a lot of the big takes there when we deep dive it, but I don't like it. I do not like it, Sam. I am.
Yeah, the implications are varied. Another quick, I don't know how quick this actually is, but another big news headline from this past week was a community manager at Bungie was being harassed by a person like in their community, and Bungie ended up fighting for it, like did a lawsuit and won a $400,000 lawsuit against that person. And that sets a precedent against people being harassed for their work. So twofold, their work is now much more like it's a requirement. It is their duty to defend an employee if they are being harassed because of their work. And also, this gives them a precedent to say, hey, this person was being harassed in their community, and it makes it an easier through road for lawsuits in the future happening to protect their employees. The type of things that this person was doing to harass this community manager involves they ordered they knew where they were, they knew their location, they had somehow gotten their personal information, so they had their phone number and their address, and they sent a pizza to their house. And the instructions for the pizza told them to knock really loudly because they had headphones on. So this person who's being harassed continuously via messages from this person also gets a threatening knock on the door late at night.
Jesus.
That kind of thing. Also calling their phone and like leaving voicemails, that kind of thing. Really just like terrorist shit.
Yeah, that's wow.
It's cool that Bungie won this lawsuit. It's another thing that Bungie did a while back was through people selling cheats for Destiny. Mm-hmm. They ended up like winning a lawsuit against cheat manufacturers, cheat developers. And it just seems like Destiny does not, and Bungie are not letting people like run rampant over their their developers and their community. Very hands-on approach, and you love to see it personally.
Oh, big time. It's the precedent for me that I think other developers, because this shit happens all the time. People getting pizza doxed and having their information sent out and stuff like that.
Swatted.
Yeah, exactly. Now other publishers could look at this and go, if we have a similar situation happen, we could invest the legal resources to go after these fuckbags to shut it down. Because I know that companies are very risk averse, generally speaking. They do not like taking risks because risks could mean we lose money, and losing money could mean our shareholders and our board gets pissed off at us. It could mean that we shutter. It can mean a lot of things. But if they know there's a precedent for stuff like this, they'd be more willing to protect their employees in that way. At least I would hope so, because we know that the gaming community can have some like wonderful people and wonderful instances of community and togetherness, and is generally very supportive of devs. But there are also like a non-negligible portion of the population that is extremely toxic and hostile, has this weird parasocial relationship with the developers because they're playing this product and they have to make themselves available to talk about the product, and feel that they're owed something, which of course they're fucking not, and that things can go really, really ugly. That's great. That is great.
Yeah, there's a really awesome tweet thread that I was reading that involves one of the lawyers that were involved with this case. And yeah, it just seems like it's just going to pave the road for better treatment of employees and having legal ramifications for those who harass and terrorize people in the future. Like, it's a total win. Big W for Bungie and for gaming in the whole. Chris, did you see Baldur's Gate 3 and the sex scene that was steaming up the industry this past week?
I didn't see that. I have seen a lot of other Baldur's Gate headlines and content that this is shaping up to be like a real blockbuster. But no, I didn't hear about this particular thing. Are you sending it to me? I'll watch it like right now. You can get a live react.
Sure. Let me, okay, that's a 7-hour stream from the release showcase. Can I just get a clip? I can look for a release, or I can just tell you about it.
Tell me about it.
So the reaction has been Baldur's Gate 3 leaps up Steam charts after bare sex reveal.
Baldur's Gate 3 or BEAR?
Baldur's Gate 3 has rapidly ascended the Steam sale charts after Larian livestream showed a sexual tryst between a vampire and a druid in bear form. Basically, it's this like romantic sort of scene happening. These two guys are like, you know, getting it on, getting the moves started, and the druid transforms into a bear, and then they continue. And that is the bare necessities of it.
Oh, that was so bad. It had to be done though.
And it's one of those things that is like, obviously, obviously a little bit of shock value, but it's so in playing with the strengths that the studio has sort of focused on in their past outings and in this one as well, that they allow the players to do anything they can do, they will allow and they will support. And Baldur's Gate, obviously, Dungeons and Dragons, Divinity Original Sin 1 and 2 were both very, very strongly based on Dungeons and Dragons. And it's one of those things that if you've ever played D&D, there's always going to be that one guy who's like, I want to romance the innkeeper. I want to romance the bear. Let me romance the, whatever. And as a dungeon master, you have to, play along with it a little bit. You have to like discourage, someone being like a weirdo or like taking it too far, like beating a dead horse as far as like, haha, the joke isn't funny anymore. But I think this, as part of the preamble, them sort of drumming up hype for the game is such a smart move. Like, obviously, yeah, a druid can transform into animals. That's what they can do in combat and in romance.
Yeah, it's definitely some D&D shit for sure, where it's like, I want to transform into a bear. The DM pauses for a second, and that's like mid-romance scene with the DM role-playing this other character, and there's a beat, right, and it's like, roll a charisma check, I guess. Like, and going like, wait, what check is this? Would this be like based on the strength of the spell? Would it be based on like your like I said, charisma? Like, would it be a strength check because they want to be
the
wrestled?
Vampire's physical defense.
Yeah, is it like a strength check against their like? Oh my god, that's so funny.
Yeah, I thought that was very interesting. There is a clip I saw, like a vertical cut and like a TikTok clip that got turned into an Instagram ad or something. But yeah, it is exactly what you think it is. Like they're just like giving each other the eyes, and then he turns into a bear, and the eyes continue.
Oh my god.
I can respect it.
Yeah.
Something I did want to talk about, because this does affect my life, not strongly, but enough that it is something that has annoyed me in the past. Anyway, this is a headline from PC Gamer. Official Minecraft wiki editors so furious at Fandom's degraded functionality and pop-ups, they're overwhelmingly voting to leave the site. I'm sure you're familiar.
Oh my god.
If you search for any sort of guides or maps or anything, the first result is going to be a fandom.wiki link. And immediately, once I click that link, I'm going to be just like eye fucked by advertisements, and it's going to be an unusable experience, but it is the de facto one experience. I really, really wish that modern website design could allow for the content that I'm looking for as a user to be surfaced and laid out in a way that is convenient. And I'm not just being continuously like, it's like they're trying to get you to click on a thing you don't want to click on. It's like every time it's like, oh, I can click on this link. Oh, just kidding. An ad appeared in the microsecond it took for me to make that decision and for my thumb to reach the screen. It happens so frequently. It pisses me the hell off.
Yeah, it was Hades for me. Looking for some specific things that, like when I was trying to get all the different Daedalus Hammer upgrades for all the weapons, I'd be like, okay, which ones aren't compatible with others, which aspects aren't compatible with certain weapon upgrades, to make sure that I wouldn't unintentionally block myself from getting some of them. And it opens up, there are embedded ads, there's an ad video on the top of the page that scrolls with you as you go down the page, and there's a bottom ad. So it's literally like 2/3 of the screen are fucking covered by advertisements. The X button is fucking tiny, and I'm using my big ass Italian fingers to try and like click the tiny X, except I don't click it. I click the video, so it full screens the video, or it opens another tab. Like, no, that's not what I want to do. And the bottom ad is one of those where like you close it and it's like, thanks for closing this like Google ad, but it still keeps the banner up on the bottom. Yeah. Oh, it's awful. It is awful. I hope they leave. People have power. Hashtag SAG-AFTRA strike. Hashtag WAG strike or WGA strike. Like, if all the creators leave, they will have no choice but to make a change or watch their website just go under. Because I agree, it is just egregious. It is so bad. And I know they need to make money to stay open, but for God's sake, like maybe do a donations campaign. I don't know. Like do something, do anything but this, because this is just the pits, man.
Yeah, it is. I know it's kind of a meme, just to say late stage capitalism, but we're in the state of late stage capitalist internet where the ad economy is it's out of whack. It's completely bonkers. Like there's no way advertisers can keep paying for this kind of thing. And there's no way that these advertisements are actually like benefiting these companies whatsoever. Like when was the last time you clicked on an ad because you wanted the thing that it was advertising? It's basically only potentially embedded Instagram ads that show you a product, and then you end up Googling that product later to see like what it's actually cost and like other things that are related. But that's about the extent of it. You're not clicking on like, so one of the, I'm skimming through this article while you're talking. And one of the things that happened on Fandom recently was there's also deep disquiet among wiki editors over a recent controversy with the McDonald's wiki, in which Fandom replaced the existing Grimace page to a paid-for McDonald's advertorial without the consent or knowledge of the McDonald's wiki editors. No, I'm not making this up. So they completely just like pasted over a page and replaced it with an advertisement. So it's like you can't even trust the things that you are on the page for. Like, were there ads on that advertisement page? Like, it's just ridiculous. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's wild.
You got to imagine like the Minecraft wiki on Fandom. It's probably one of the larger trafficked wikis. Like I'd probably put that up there with like Elden Ring, with Grand Theft Auto, as far as the mass number of people going there for like, because Minecraft is all about crafting and like making these things. You're looking there for like, where do I find these resources? How do I craft these things? What is the best way to min-max my time with the game? And apparently it was an outside wiki that got transferred over to the Fandom wiki over time, because that was the de facto place. That was the place to put wiki knowledge on. And the service has gotten so poor that now they're going to leave it. And I hope they do. I hope this, I don't see it affecting anything. Like, I'm so cynical, and like, I can't believe them changing the way their website works just because one game leaves. But I mean, if like everyone votes to leave it, if everyone who's like running because it's a community thing, like it's not just like one person doing this, it's like dozens of people putting in their time and effort, and these games change and they grow. And like a lot of times these developers will actually work with the wikis as well, because they recognize that is a valuable way for them to give this information out to the people who are playing the game as well. So fuck them. I hope they do.
Yeah.
Move on. Put it somewhere where it's good.
Yeah.
And everyone knows it.
It's significant that it's Minecraft. I would yes. definitively put it as maybe the top trafficked video game. As I've like mentioned before on this podcast, like every child.
And Roblox.
Yes. And Roblox. Every child plays Minecraft. But I think that there are so many adults that are also big into Minecraft that are not going to play Roblox, that it's huge. It's substantial. Like that could be a change-making move, or at the very least, it could give the Minecraft wiki community a shiny new home that they don't have to deal with that stuff. They could be like, we're just going to pass the hat to pay for like 2 or 3 years worth of like domain registration costs. And there you go.
Yeah. It's going to be a lot of work. It's going to cost them a lot, as far as, because they can't just take down the information on the Fandom wiki because of the way their TOS works. Like you can't just like delete stuff. They have the right to put everything else up on there. It'll basically just stop being updated by those people running the community, but they can also, other actors may just copy over information from the new wiki into the old one, and like it's going to be a pain in the ass, because the Fandom wiki will still pop up first. They've got such strong SEO. They've gamed the algorithm, so they will always stay on top. But I just hope it is at least like a sign, like, hey, you have to change this. You're not gonna continuously grow. And a lot of that also is these companies get bought by other companies, and then the new owners see the bottom line, they see the profit margins, they see the dollars and cents, and they say, hey, this isn't making enough money, we're going to cut down on staff. And then the staff all leaves, and no one actually gives a shit about the product they're making anymore. It's just depressing. Let's see. Also wanted to see if there was any sort of hot rumors and speculation. Oh, actually, this is relevant to us because Pokemon is always relevant. There's some rumblings that the next Pokemon game is seemingly a Black and White sequel.
Like Black and White 3?
Apparently. I never actually, so I played a little bit of, I say a little bit, I maybe played half of Black and White. I liked it. It was cool that they did the hard-ish reset of saying, hey, you can't actually you're not going to find any old Pokemon in this game. We did 150 new Pokemon, the most they ever added in a generation, I believe, aside from the first. And you were forced to only play with the new toys. And I thought that was bold. I liked that a lot. The actual overall plot and like the implications of the morality of utilizing these mostly sentient beings as your little attack creatures, and the main quote unquote bad guy saying like, hey, Pokemon deserve rights, but also going about it in a bad guy way. So it's like, you know, Black Panther villain / a Thanos problem, where it's like, I like what you believe in, but you're going about it in a pretty shitty way. So, but I never played Black 2, White 2. I don't know what they did with the story. Was it actually like a sequel in the story? Was it the same region? I don't know how they actually did that. So I wonder how a Black and White 3 would go, or if it's more like a Legends Arceus kind of scenario where it's like, yeah, that's related to Ruby Sapphire. They had just done, or not Ruby Sapphire, but was it Ruby Sapphire?
Diamond and Pearl, yeah.
Diamond Pearl. So we did those Diamond and Pearl remakes, so it's like, yeah, this region, we're here, but it's like it's in the distant past. Like, would it be a Black and White 3 is black and white, but in the past, like the America region, quote unquote, like as it's being founded, like they could do like a Gangs of New York, but Pokemon. Like, I don't know.
Jeez. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't play Black 2 and White 2, which I guess means that I have a hole in my mainline Pokemon game knowledge.
Kinda, I guess. I mean,
I understand it had it had story elements, and yeah, the story in Black and White was like probably the strongest in like maybe any Pokemon game. And N was a very interesting gray antagonist that had a lot, like you said, a lot of like really interesting and like really valid questions to ask that the series had like never really reckoned with at all. So that's man, that's really interesting. Yeah, do you go the left-hand path and extrapolate on it further, or do you go the right-hand path and you do the Legend Arceus thing? Because Gen 5 is next in their like remake cycle, and so maybe they issue like a remake and do well, or maybe they do something that like you get the story elements of both like Black and Black 2, Black 2, White 2. With some additional content. I don't know. I prefer that it would be like a Legends style thing, because that's just such a blast with that like change to the formula. And I think that it's so rich to do in so many other places. Like, I would rather play that than another mainline game, because God knows I still don't own Scarlet and Violet. And I'm in danger of like letting that completely pass me by for the first time since I skipped Gen 4 when I was a kid. So I don't know. It would have to be good. It would have to run well. It would have to be a Switch 2 game. I don't want to play another mainline Pokemon game on Switch hardware if it's going to run as shittily as Scarlet and Violet did, or if it's going to look as bad as Arceus did. I'm just not interested in that.
Yeah, I feel like just based on the cadence of their marketing cycle, we would have heard about it by now. We're at this year, so it's pretty safe to assume this is a 2024 game/games. I also wonder if they would do the Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl thing, where they have a remake sort of set out, where they do a both blacks, both whites remade into one package. That would be preferred. I would think that they would somehow mash those games and their sequels together to have like a all-encompassing, like, this is the definitive way to play those games via the Pokemon Company, like what they determine is definitive. Because I mean, BDSP also missed some platinum content, so it's like they have a pretty bad track record as far as that goes. But I would like for them to continue with here's a remake Black and White and Black and White 2. I think that would be the best case scenario. And then also on top of that, having a Legends, whatever the super legend or whatever it was from Black and White. I don't remember.
Kyurem.
At what point was it Kyurem?
Yeah,
the gray dude.
I think so. Yeah, the ice dragon, which is still just like one of the best freaking dragon designs, and I love the ice dragon typing. It's so sick.
So I think that would be a cool way to go about it. And like I said, the Legends sort of vibe does not necessarily mean distant past. It doesn't even always have to mean past. I mean, it can be whatever they want it to be, but it could be the way I look at it is, here is this location, but you're interacting with it in a way that is not typical to the 8 gym badge structure that a classical sort of by the numbers Pokemon game would be. So that gives them an opportunity to make it however they want to. And I really did like the gameplay loop that Legends Arceus introduced. So I would hope that they could innovate on that further, take some steps to improve it, and put it in a different location. I think the distant past had its downsides as far as you just sort of going around these barren zones. But it was cool because you got to experience Pokemon in an environment that they could maybe exist in. It was a little bit rough because of how poor the performance was, and like the design of the locations were kind of subpar.
So drab, so boring.
Yeah, very drab. And a lot of that, I assume, would have been smoothed over as you gained more abilities and gained more like ride Pokemon. I didn't even get to the first one. I played maybe a few hours of that game. So I assume as you increased your ability to move around the location, it improved a little bit. And it wasn't a real open world, which is fine. I don't really need Pokemon to be like an open world. Open zone is like plenty, as long as the locations are interesting and the way you interact with the environments is interesting, a la like a Monster Hunter. That's my go-to example for that.
Yeah, it is. The ride Pokemon made a big difference, and being able to get to some areas where you're like, I'm not really sure how I'm supposed to get over there. And it's like, oh, there's a Pokemon I haven't seen before over here. That's great. Like, let's get that in the Pokedex. Now I know where I can go like grind those if I want them. Or like, oh, that's an alpha nest. That's really cool. Let me snag that. Yeah, it did improve with the different ride pokes.
So I hope they don't call that a one and done. I think it's sold well enough. It would just depend on if there are people within the company that are championing it. I would think that would be the main reason why they would either continue or not with it. But that's my hope, I guess.
Yeah,
is I hope that we get a remake that is both Black and White and Black and White 2, and then a separate thing that is in the location but more akin to the Legends gameplay, but then also improved on that formula, because I think that was really cool. But that might just be hoping. Let's Go. We never got a Let's Go 2.
I was just gonna say, like, and that sold like gangbusters.
It sold pretty well. It broke 10 mil, which is like kind of pittance for Pokemon, but it's still really good.
Yeah, and I think Legends did really well. I mean, I don't think it did as well as that.
It sold fast.
Yeah, but it did pretty good numbers. I'd have to look at it, but yeah, who knows? It's who's in whose ear. Yeah, give me Pokemon Jet Black and Pokemon Neon White.
Darkest Black and Deepest White, or Brightest White.
That's cool.
It's kind of too close to the Green Lantern story that everyone loves, but
in Brightest Day, in Blackest Night. Well, I'm here for it. Gen 5 had a lot of really bad monster designs, but a lot of really, really good narrative ideas. So I would be eager to see what they could do with those things on a modern console.
Yeah, and besides that, I mean, the only other thing was that Last of Us 2 remake, remaster, potentially being leaked / confirmed, whatever.
Yeah, the composer saying like, my role's expanded in something, which is like what a thing to say, because that just is like all but coming out and saying it, which is really nice.
He was a cameo in the original release of it, right?
He was, yeah. He's in Jackson, and he's playing one of the tunes from the game on an acoustic guitar, and you can interact with him. It's pretty limited, so people were like, oh, maybe this means that he'll be like a de facto like jukebox where it's like, hey, play that one song, and he plays like the Fireflies theme on his guitar or something, you know what I mean?
Right.
But give me that game was absolutely stunning on PS4. Push that console to its limits in the same way that the original one did for the PlayStation 3. Would love to see it on a PS5. Would be a quick buy for me. I'm going to buy part 1. Not in the fall, probably next year sometime, so that I can do a replay of both of those on modern consoles before season 2 of the show comes out. Just to sort of like prime the pump again. So that is very welcome news. There's also been a lot of scuttle about that part 3 has started motion capture, which would be an interesting development. This like multiplayer game that has been like long rumored and seems to be close to a formal announcement seems to potentially, again, if the leaks are to be believed, some of the narrative details, is going to introduce the cast of characters that's going to carry over into part 3. So this is going to be something that will kind of thread the gap between 2 and 3 a little bit, give us some different gameplay mechanics, like keep us sated while they go through the process of getting part 3 developed. Some of the details coming out, it's an ensemble cast. Some of the dynamics of the group were revealed. I won't talk about them here, but also that Ellie will be present for at least half of the game, which is significant. Obviously, we sort of figured that in a theoretical part 3, they're going to close the story and some of the things that were introduced in the end of part 2 which to me, it always felt like there was going to be a part 3. Just how they left it, of Ellie walking away from the house, with the guitar in the window, and the framing of that shot as it opposed to like the loading screens for both the games of like curtains fluttering in the window. Boy, I'm ready for a part 3. I'm definitely ready for a part 3. Watching the show, like, man, just like dropping back into that world made me itchy for just how like interesting and difficult and wonderful the narrative of those games were.
So the multiplayer game is not like rumored because they did announce it. They haven't named it or talked about it in a way that they've described what the actual moment-to-moment gameplay is. The assumption has just been, oh, it's just like factions. But we don't know that. And the sort of rumors / leaks about how that game development is going sounds like they're having a tough time with it. And this is supposed to be one of the, dozen or so Sony developed first-party games as service games. Like, I would assume, because it's Naughty Dog, that they want this to be like their crown jewel. This is the thing that they want to be known for. I would imagine that puts a lot of pressure on Naughty Dog to make a game that they do not make very often with a online service game that has to have continual updates, seasons, the things that keep people coming back for more. If it was just a multiplayer mode tacked onto The Last of Us Part 2, re-released on PS5, that'd be a totally different ask. But this has to be a standalone game that people continuously pour their time and money into. So that's tough. I do not envy them for that. And I also do not believe that they can put like actually compelling narrative into a game structure like that. It's already hard enough for games to have stories that are compelling to a player in the same way that film and television and books have in the past, because it is a active medium that you are participating with. So you're not being told a story, you are having a conversation with the story. And I would not say that Naughty Dog does good video game stories. They do good TV stories in the medium of video games, which is why The Last of Us made for such a good TV show. And I doubly do not think they could put a compelling narrative into a multiplayer game, because nobody has. The compelling narrative that you have from a multiplayer game are the things that you do with the game that are fun to talk about. It is not a traditional, then this happened, and then this happened, and this person felt this way. It is how you felt doing the thing and the way that you impart yourself onto the environment that is so important in video game storytelling. And that's not something that Naughty Dog has any experience with. Like, you're so limited in your abilities. It is not like an immersive sim. It is not like Zelda. It is not like Deus Ex. It is not like Hitman, where you do these things with your creativity and that becomes the story. You have these tools that allow you to accomplish the things that they want you to do. It's completely different. So I worry about their ability, especially in a multiplayer game where you're just fucking around with your friends, and you're trying to have this conversation with the people that you're playing with, because that is the draw of a multiplayer game. It is a thing to do with your friends. It's going out and playing golf. Golf doesn't have a good story. Golf has no story. The story are the people playing golf. So I do not think that Naughty Dog can do the things that they've talked about, where they're like, oh, yeah, we want to have a narrative through this game. It's like, well, I bet you do want that. I don't believe you can do that.
Yeah, I don't know that I believe that either. I think there's a big difference, though, between like introducing characters that we get an initial sense of, okay, that's the group dynamic. Now we're going to play this multiplayer game, and everybody's going to know the characters that they like and that they want to play and that they don't want to play, who then are a part of part 3 storytelling. I think that's a big difference, and I would prefer to see that. As far as like a television story to video game story, a story is a story, man. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know about that. Like, if the story's good, the story's good. And so the story is good, and it has been good, and they do write excellent stories. Like Uncharted, widely considered to have like a terrific story, and also is like a terrific video game by all accounts. I haven't played them. I played some of the first one, and then I stopped. And then everybody was like, well, you shouldn't have played the first one because the first one sucks. should have skipped it and gone to the second one, and you would have had a better time. I'm like, well, you're probably right, but that ship maybe is sailed forever. We'll see. Last of Us TV show did get a fuckload of Emmy nominations, which is exciting. I don't know how many wins they're going to get because I feel like Succession is going to steamroll everything. It was also Barry's last season. Well, that's a comedy series. But Succession's final season, Better Call Saul's final season. I think that like 4 out of the 6 guest actor in a TV drama are from The Last of Us, though. Murray Bartlett, Nick Offerman, and both of the actors from the Pittsburgh sequence, the young man who is deaf and his older brother, all 4 of them are nominated. So they have like 2/3 shot of winning that category. But
yeah, they'll for sure get that, I think.
Yeah, it'd be great for them to have like a piece of hardware just as like proof positive. I was reading this week, it's a slight tangent. Well, not really, but that like Better Call Saul, which is a show that I love and has been consistently lauded as like one of the better shows on television, has won 0 Emmys in 5 seasons. I'm like, damn, like it is hard. There is so much good TV out there. If Last of Us could come away with even one to be like Emmy winning adaptation, like that's big. That's big for us as gamers.
It's big for Sony to sort of bolster their push into the multimedia. I don't think they're going to be getting any Emmys for Twisted Metal, and who knows what they'll get for God of War or Horizon. I mean, these are all series that they've confirmed will have television shows and have shown in the
Twisted Metal's going to be
Twisted Metal looks so fucking bad.
It looks terrible. I'm going to love watching it and just laughing at how bad it is for sure. God of War, jeez Louise.
I can't imagine paying Peacock money to watch Twisted Metal. Like that's some like financial cuckoldry right there.
I want to watch Poker Face, Ryan Johnson's like mystery of the week, case of the week detective show with Natasha Lyonne. So I'll probably just like do a 1-month thing, watch all of Twisted Metal, watch all of Poker Face, and then just like shit can my membership. God of War, geez Louise. Have we talked about that TMZ article that they were considering The Rock for Kratos?
That's really funny. No, I mean, I remember you mentioning that in our group chat, but I don't think we've talked about it on the podcast. But my first response to that was cast Kevin Hart as Atreus.
Yep, cast Kevin Hart as Atreus, and I'm in. Oh my god, yeah, that would be just. I will not watch that show if they cast The Rock. I do not care to see a bad performance of a game story that is extremely compelling to me. I would rather just not watch it.
I'm sure I could think of a worst casting for Kratos, but at the moment I'm struggling. Like that sounds like a literal worst case scenario.
Yeah, it's bad, man. It's bad. So hopefully that does not come to be as The Rock like continues to reel from being like shunted out of the DC universe in this, James Gunn revival. Please no. Amazon, don't fucking do it. Don't do it. Please don't do it.
Yeah, out of all the wrestlers turned actors, I think Batista would be a much more captivating
honest to God
to play.
He would. He could do a really serviceable job. Like he was great in A Knock at the Door, A Knock at the Cabin, whatever the fuck it was called. M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong's movie that came out this year. Not a great film overall. Batista was great.
Yeah, and Blade Runner 2049, I mean, he's really good in those like small, serious roles. So give him a big, serious role. I mean,
he's ready.
He's got comedic chops, but that's part of it.
Yeah, and he wants it. He's hungry for it. That's why he left Guardians. So he's like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, it's fun. I'm really thankful for this because it gave me massive exposure. But like, I really want to be an actor. He was good in Dune. He has a small role. He'll have more to do in part 2. But yeah. That's that'd be interesting.
And casting Kratos would be the hardest part. Everything else could just fall into place after that. It doesn't have to fit as well.
Yeah, hire Sonny Sielgen, or I'm not saying his last name correctly. You could literally hire the kid to play Atreus.
I think that's about it as far as like news and stuff goes for this week. And the rumor mill as I tap that for stuff for us to chat about.
Yeah, the FTC ruling is the big one, but that's going to require like that would be like another 30 minutes of content right there. But I know EJ really wants to talk about this.
I want to do a little bit more research as far as what the implications are, I don't know, because it's still a lot. It's a lot to take in. Obviously, it's been at the doorstep for the past year plus, and we haven't talked about it much, but it's just been such an ever-present sort of weekly little dribs and drabs of news and corporate fighting that it's been hard to not. I mean, we've talked about the ramifications of this, obviously. Like, we've talked about some of the byproducts that have popped up here and there, like Microsoft talking about, oh yeah, we expect the next Switch console to be X, Y, and Z, and Activision doing the same, like saying, yeah, we can make a new Call of Duty on the system. We should have put one on there before, but we just didn't because the Wii U was such a travesty. Like, obviously, people get a little bit gun shy. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of it's not going to stop being a weekly thing either. Like, it's going to keep blowing out of control. Things will just keep happening. Yeah, definitely gonna want to talk to EJ about that. Maybe get some documents, some research done.
Yeah,
feel a little bit more equipped to talk about it, just because I'm like, there's a lot to keep in mind.
Yeah,
with something like that.
Yep, I'd want to do my reading for sure.
You've got your next 2 weeks sort of in the in the calendar as far as what you're gonna be playing.
Yeah,
I don't know what I'm gonna be playing next. I don't know what EJ's been up to. We'll have more to talk about next week, I'm sure.
Oh yeah,
Console Crusade podcast. There's two dudes chatting about video games and stuff.
Oh yeah, a little bit of everything. Potpurri, if you will.
Potpurri for 500 Trebek.
Genre.
No. Dude, I love Alex Trebek clips. I could watch those for minutes at a time.